Hello, I'm Scott Thompson, and welcome to After 10. The Park Geun-hye administration has unveiled big plans to reintroduce the Saemaul Undong, which was a driving force behind Korea's economic growth in the 1970s, and now it's spreading throughout the world. On today's After 10, we're joined by Lee, president of the Saemaul Globalization Foundation, to hear all about it.
The Korean peninsula was in ruin after the Korean War, and the Saemaul Undong, or the New Community Movement, established a foundation for the nation's rapid growth in the 1970s. Now, nearly 4 decades later, a lot of developing nations are trying to benchmark Korea's Saemaul Undong.
새마을 운동의 내용과 실천 방식을 시대에 맞게 변화시켜서 미래지향적인 시민의식 개혁운동으로 발전시켜 나가기를 기대합니다. 앞으로 정부는 지구촌 새마을 운동을 국제협력 프로그램의 중요 사업으로 추진해 나갈 것입니다.
Meet Lee, president of the Saemaul Globalization Foundation, who has been taking a leading role in promoting Saemaul Undong worldwide, and hear more about the significance of the movement.
Mr. Lee, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me today.
Now, the Saemaul Undong, it was first established in the 1970s as a government-led rural development campaign. It's been reintroduced now by the Park Geun-hye administration. Tell us why.
I think the Saemaul Undong was initiated in 1970s to modernize the Korean rural community. And thanks to Saemaul Undong, it is said that Korea could modernize not only rural area, but also nation itself. Recently, it's true that it's uprising as a new model to apply it to the development of rural area or regional area in developing countries. I think there are some reasons. First of all, a number of leaders of developing countries have expressed their desire to learn about Saemaul Undong, to apply it for the development of their own economy. The second reason, I can say, there are some world figures, such as including United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and also United States President Barack Obama, and also the President of World Bank, Dr. Jim Yong Kim. They are repeatedly advising the leaders of developing countries to benchmark Saemaul Undong. That's the one reason that why Saemaul Undong is acknowledged more than before. The third reason, I think, last year, on the occasion of National Saemaul Leaders Convention, President Park Geun-hye called for second round Saemaul Undong, emphasizing the necessity of global Saemaul movement. These reasons can be mentioned as elements through which Saemaul Undong is emerging as a new model to the development of developing countries.
Considering the time that's passed since the first Saemaul Undong and the fact that it's now being globalized, what are some of the changes or differences from the Saemaul Undong that we saw in the 70s to the one that we're seeing today?
Saemaul Undong in Korea in 1970s was the movement to modernize the rural community, because as mentioned by President Park Geun-hye on the occasion of National Saemaul Leaders Convention last year, it's a movement, I can say, future-oriented civic consciousness reform movement, adding the value of sharing, volunteering, and also kind of consideration toward others, adding to the value of diligence and self-help and cooperation. This Saemaul Undong of today is very important because many developing countries are asking to Korea to share the experience and know-how of Saemaul Undong for their development. So it's a movement also to promote national unity and also international cooperation.
These are topics that will likely come up later this month when your foundation hosts the first global Saemaul Leaders Conference. Tell us what we can expect from that conference and what's going to be talked about there.
Yeah, the first global Saemaul Leaders Conference convention will be held from April 24th to 24th in Seoul and Seongnam. Main agenda of this convention is, I think, reassess the current globalization of Saemaul Undong, seeking future orientation of globalization of Saemaul Undong. They will have a seminar on this issue, and also they will adopt a declaration of globalization of Saemaul Undong. And after that, they will have a session to present some cases of success in the globalization of Saemaul Undong. And also, they will have some program on-site tour. I think it's the first convention, but it will be helpful to enhance our globalization movement of Saemaul Undong in the future.
And the Saemaul Undong is known internationally really as Korea's model for official development assistance or ODA. Why is that?
You know, despite the hundreds of billions of dollars deployed to the ODA program from the advanced countries, there has been a lack of significant development of developing nations. That's the reason why there are people who are saying it is useless. It is useless to have the program of ODA, but I think the reason why these conclusions come to us is that the ODA, existing ODA from advanced countries, was a kind of unilateral development assistance, focusing on the donor rather than the receiver. But the Saemaul Undong is totally different in its approach to do something for the development of regional development of developing countries, because it focuses in nurturing the, what can I say, self-reliance or independence, and also we do a very practical approach. For example, through the projects of Saemaul Undong, we provide a base for the local people to work, and also an environment for them to teach their children, and also we teach them how to break loose from the chains of poverty and to earn money. Until now, we are receiving very, very positive feedback from local communities who have first-handedly experienced this change. So I think this Saemaul Undong can be regarded as a kind of substitute the existing ODA. I think this point is quite important, and many countries would like to have it, seeing the consequences that we have done until now.
Let's talk about the actual act of globalizing this movement. You take into consideration that this is a local development campaign that presents some unique challenges, I would assume, as you try to globalize it. A systematic approach, I would imagine, is necessary. How is that process going about right now?
You know, frankly, there are many different organizations, institutions who are doing globalization of Saemaul Undong in different ways. That's the reason why the government, especially the Prime Minister's office, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Security and Public Administration, are doing some efforts for that, researching into the Korean model of Saemaul Undong. They have collected related information materials, and also they already organized an advisory council panel to get some idea from them. So we are waiting for that.
So these are the success stories that your foundation, of course, is working toward. It's also promoting something called Saemaul Model Villages. Tell us a little bit about what the goal there is, and also how they're working to promote these things, promote sustainable development.
You know, our goal is to make each pilot village as a sustainable development village. Principally, we try to realize it during the 5 years given to each village, and if it is not enough, or if there is additional request from each pilot village, we consider to dispatch some experts necessary to this purpose, or some volunteers until the project is safe and assured. Thirdly, one important factor in doing this project is to give some chances of training. For that purpose, we are planning to establish Saemaul Training Center in strategic areas. For example, the first one will be set up in Ethiopia, hoping to function as a center for East African region. Perhaps the other center will be followed in the future.
We've got a couple of questions that have been sent in by our viewers to ask you. The first one being here: how many countries around the world have established Saemaul model villages? Please introduce us to one example that has achieved great results.
As of today, we are doing 16 pilot villages in 4 countries in Africa, which are Ethiopia, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Senegal. And in 2 countries from Asia, in Philippines and India. We are starting 7 new pilot villages this year in Asia, in which are Vietnam, Philippines, one more village, Sri Lanka, and Uzbekistan. I think each village is showing anyhow favorable outcome in their own way. But the one village that we regard best is Mushimba village in Rwanda. In the past, Mushimba village was a very poor village, always suffered from food shortage due to the people's lack of will for a better life, and also lack of farmland. However, with the initiation of Saemaul Undong pilot village program, the local peoples started to work together to cultivate swamps into farmland and started to grow rice on this land. Together with Saemaul volunteer cause. As a result, in last year, they harvested 18 tons of rice from this land of 6 hectares. This news spread to neighboring villages, and the neighboring villagers are starting similar projects. Is quite interesting one. I think this case shows that Saemaul Undong can be effectively spread to neighboring region or area through one successful pilot village as Mushimba village.
And we have another question sent in from one of our viewers. It reads, I heard leaders from Korea are being sent to each Saemaul model village. What role are they playing, and how can someone apply to become a leader?
Saemaul Undong leaders are, first of all, volunteers who are dispatched to each pilot villages in the world. Their mission is to assist and encourage the local people in building their new communities. The Saemaul leader volunteers act just as assistant or helper. And also any Korean citizen over the age of 20 can apply to become a volunteer. So anyone interested in this job can find the details on the Saemaul Undong, Saemaul Globalization Foundation website. I believe that for males, you have to have carried out or be exempt from military services.
Looking ahead perhaps to the next year, since you've taken the role as president of the foundation, a lot has been achieved, I think it's safe to say. What are the goals for the coming year?
You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are many countries who are asking to share our experience. Gyeongsang-buk-do, who is the birthplace of Saemaul Undong and epicenter of Saemaul Undong, they started this movement since 2005. And last year they established our foundation to do it separately from the provincial government. According to their objective, they will extend this cooperation until 50 villages, in the near future. So we should try more to meet the need of the developing countries, expanding our pilot village. Secondly, I think not only expanding the numbers of the pilot villages, it is quite important to make each village a success as a sustainable village. So we are doing every effort for them. For example, in cooperation with KOICA, we are trying to send experts necessary to each village. For example, a certain village needs some experts on agriculture. We would like to send them to there. If a certain village needs another expert, for example, architecture, we can discuss and send them there. This kind of effort is very important. So make each pilot village a success as a sustainability is primary goal for us. And in the long term, my mission is to make this foundation as an international organization to serve or to do more efforts to the development of regional community of developing countries. I think if we make some success among the pilot villages, we can try in the not so long future, but in some future.
Well, we'll all be watching as the Saemaul Undong travels across the globe. Mr. Lee Ji-ha, thank you very much for being on the program, sharing your insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much once again. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, After 10.
We will continue to do our best to improve our show based on the perspective of our viewers. Always feel free to leave us any comments, great ideas, or suggestions you wish to share with us.